Now, since you know that we have this page, let's start with HTML. So HTML is like a skeleton, okay? What exactly is supposed to be displayed, that comes under HTML. How it is looking, what is the color and everything, that is the part of CSS, styling, basically cascading style sheets, okay? So let's start with HTML. So we have this whole section, we have this whole website. Let's not worry about all of this. Let's start with the header first. So what the approach should be, break every whole website into smaller components, as small as possible, and take one problem at a time, and then start building. And once you are done with that, then move on to the next component, okay? So in our use case, we will start with this header because there is a lot of components. First component is header. Now in header also we have first this title and everything, and then we have different sections and all that, like we have this drop down, and then we have a toggle switch. So we will start with one by one, okay? So let's start designing this header. Let's start with the first section, which is this title and everything, okay? So let me get back to my code editor, okay? So here we have this whole thing. Let's just remove these things again, and if we remove this, we also need to remove these tests because they are no more valid. So let's move it to trash. Now let's design our header. So HTML, there are a lot of tags that you use in HTML. I mean, even I'm not very expert in that, but most commonly used tags you can find. So you can find a lot of references. Most common are div, paragraph, anchor tag. Then you can see that there's a lot of tags: article, area, a side, B, and then base, bold text. All these tags you can use depending upon your use case. And I would say it's better you go one by one, because you would be for 90% of the cases you would be using only 5 or 6% of all these available tags. In all other cases, it's definitely those 5-6 tags. So we will get started, and as we go further we will understand how it happens, okay? So first we will go with this. We are going to design header, and as you might have guessed it, there's a tag, header tag, for that, okay? So in header tag we want to if I show you here, and let's quickly okay, let it be. In header tag we have like elements aligned in horizontal fashion, right? So we will have this header tag, and we will make the specific styling as we will make it include a styling in which this header is following horizontal pattern, okay? So let's say first we have this this big name, whatever it is. So let's say h1 name, person name. Let's keep it person name, just that, okay? And now if we go I think that is for, and next to it we have a small logo. So let's quickly see. We can always right click on it and click on inspect to see what exactly this is, okay? So it is an image, and this image is a svg file which is already present. So we can just copy this one. Let's open this source and save this svg file, and we will save it in the location, okay, wherever in the public directory, if you remember, in this one. All right, okay. So if I click on save as, I have already saved, so I don't need to save it again. All right, so this is the logo that we need, and since it's an image, so we will use, for images we use image tag, so img, and then close it, and then we will want to put the src. So src will be again the same thing. So we'll go to public and copy this, copy relative path. You can do that also, but make sure to remove this public, because image, whenever we provide source, it starts from the slash, and the public directory is the root directory, okay? And then there's something called alt text. Let's say for some reason your image did not load, okay, and in all those cases you want to show alt text, okay? Just for the sake of understanding, and even it is also good for search engine optimization. So for crawlers of the Google crawlers or Bing crawlers or all the search engines that perform this. Okay, so here I'm just saying okay, all text is logo icon, that's it. Okay, and if I save it, and let's quickly run up the dev server. So again yarn dev, and once this runs, then we will see what we have built till now. So if I go to localhost 3000 and if I open this, so you can see that person name, and this is coming in a vertical sense. Okay, and how do I know it? Because I mean it's clear that person name is taking full space, and what I can do is I can there's something called style tag. Okay, style is basically inline styling. With CSS you can use inline styling also, you can use a complete different style sheet file also, but just for debugging purposes you can use inline styling also, right? And not just this, you can just go click on inspect, as you remember last time we did an inspection. And let me just remove this one, and here you can add styles directly. So let's say I want to see how much space it is taking, 2 pixels solid red. So you can see that it is taking whole lot, I mean complete space, which is something that we may not need. So for that, what we can do is we can pack these two into one single container, and then we can define the styles of that container, that these two should be in single one. But before that, we can see that this image is too big, we don't want it to be this big, right? So what we can do is we can add styles to this one. Again, the way we are adding style, this is called inline styling, and this takes precedence over any other style, no matter however let's say you style it in different way that we will be exploring, like using classes or IDs. So these are HTML attributes. Okay, we have src, we have alt text, we have style, and so on. Okay, so these basically it is a key value, so this is the key and what should be its value. So for image we have src attribute, and the value should be this, alt should be this. Okay, and the way we can demonstrate how alt works is, let's say I add s, and now it won't be able to find, so it says logo icon. Okay, so this is the role of alt text. Anyways, coming back, so this inline styling takes the precedence over any other styling. Okay, so let's say I make height to 2 pixels. Okay, and aspect ratio. Okay, so you can see that when you write these styles in CSS, then it follows different patterns because this is a JSX. Okay, JSX is slightly different than actual HTML. So in JSX you have this casing, specific casing way, which is camel casing, where you have I'm not sure if it is camel casing or what exactly it is called, but the idea is you write it in CSS like this, aspect ratio 1. So since you cannot use this dash, so what you do is you do it like this. Okay, so this is the casing change that happens. Anyways, coming back, so this is your aspect ratio, and now if I save it and I go back, now this image totally got disappeared. Maybe it became too small. Let's make it 12 pixels. Okay, now I can see it here. All right, so maybe 32 pixels. So now it is coming as I expected it to be. All right, so this is the height, this is the aspect ratio, and now I want these two to be together. Okay, so what I can do is I can wrap this into a div. Div is a division, and let's see what happens. So now wrap it and save it. Now again it's still h1 by default is taking the whole space. Okay, so now I need to add a styling for div as well, and what I can do is I can make this div have a specific way. Okay, a specific display property. All right, so there are a lot of display properties, like you can make it inline. So before that, let's just click on here and let's say display, and let's make it inline. And inline style, although it is inline, but since by default h1 is having the tendency to take the entire space, so that is what is causing it to not go that way. Okay, and you can see that there is additional padding and margin also. Padding and margin meaning if I hover here, you see this orange section, right? And if you scroll down here, you will see what is this additional margin. So by default h1s have these margins. If you want to remove it, either you can set the styling here, or the better way would be there is this app.tsx, which is like the root level, like this thing gets applied to all the components. So it comes out of the box, you don't need to change anything unless it is required. But basically what this means is any component that gets rendered, that comes from here. Okay, and you can see that here we are importing global.css, So if I open global.css, which is located in your styles directory global css, okay, so here what I can do is I can just remove all these existing stylings because I don't need these. And star means this is a css file, okay. So this syntax of css is basically the property which you want to style. It could be a class, it could be an id, whatever. It could be a normal selector like h1 h2, whatever it is, or it could be things like star, which means everything, okay. And then you use curly braces. So let's say h1 curly braces, and then you type in all the styles that you want to apply. Like in case of aspect ratio that you saw it there, we can do it here like this. Remember I said that aspect that ratio dash ratio, this is how you write in css. And since you cannot specify the classes in react, so you do it like this in react, I mean in the jsx in here, okay. So try to understand these things slowly and slowly. So what I'll currently do is I'll keep it like this, h1, which I want to style, and I want to keep padding meaning extra padding that comes with it is as 0, and margin as 0 as well. And if I save this one and go back and say let it be like this, so now if I hover, you can see that there is no padding, okay. So we have removed the padding and everything. Now it is looking fine. Now I want to put this back with this with the heading itself. For that, what I will do is I will put a display property of flex, okay. Flex is something that we are going to use at a lot of places. It is very useful property. It is very useful for responsive design as well. So you know, I would highly recommend you keep reading a little bit more about flexbox, and you can search like flexbox is very I think css flexbox, a complete guide. You can see what are all the properties that it supports. You want to put all in the rows, you want to put all in the columns. You can specify by flex direction. So you can do flex direction as column. In that case it will all be in column. Currently it was in row, so now it is all in column. And you can see that this one is getting stretched for some reason. Let's see what's going wrong. Okay, in flex it automatically tries to take the it's by default the property of the element is stretch, okay. So what we can do is here, if I go here and let me just go back. I think this complete guide to flexbox by css tricks is having a very good reference. So if I just scroll a little bit, flex flow, justify content, align self, align items. Let me just quickly stretch. Yeah, so align items, you see that it is stretch by default. That means fill the entire container. However, what you can do is you can specify here align items to center. And if I save this and if I go back and come here, now you can see that these two are centered and they are not getting stretched. So these are some properties of flexbox, and don't get a lot overwhelmed. We will be learning these one by one, but this is how you can specify the properties. But since we don't want column, we want row, which is a default flex direction, we can just remove this one, and we can remove this one as well for now. And let's get back. So here you can see that these two are together. Now one thing you will notice is that these are aligned with respect to horizontal. Let's say there was a horizontal line. I want to align these horizontal let me just give you an example. So let's say, let me just remove this. Let's say we have two shapes, okay. So this is shape 1, and let me copy paste it one more time, and let me just do it like this, okay. So currently it is aligned like this. This is a default configuration, and this you will see here as well. Baseline, based on the baseline, it is aligned like that. And now what ideally I want is that it should be aligned center like this, so that it looks more appealing. Currently it is aligned based on this top line. All right, so how can we do that? We can just go back here, and again I think you have guessed it. it's just align items and then center. So we want to align them center. So now it is looking like what we had here, right? Just the text size is big, but that is a different thing. We can fix that as well. So we can go here, we can just go to h1, go to its styles, and then font size. We have a property called font size, and let's make it to 50 pixels maybe. Not sure, it will be too big. Okay, it looks fine. And then maybe you want to add some letter spacing also, letter spacing to, let's say, 1 pixel. And it looks fine, but let's have 2 pixels. Okay, now it is more broadened. And of course, going to and fro, it's better you can just change it here itself to check how it looks like. You can go 3 pixel, 4 pixel, and then you can come down to 1 pixel, whatever prefers best suits you. So this is how, you know, we start one by one, and I hope you got a good idea of how we are aligning these components. So this is the bigger the first header, which is the container, and let's try to visualize it. So I'll go to header, I'll just go to styles, and I add a border which will be let's have 1 pixel solid blue. Okay, so this is our whole header. All right, inside this we have a small div which is basically you know, vertically not vertically, which is basically this div is part of this whole header. Okay, and let's have a border for this one also, 1 pixel solid green, just so that we can visualize everything. Okay, and I'm not sure why we are not able to see it. Let's make it 2 pixels maybe. Okay, yeah, now we can view it. So the flex container, by default, it has the tendency to stretch in whole area. Okay, but let's say if we add something else, let's say in this div, if I close it up, and let's say I add h2, and let's say another content, and save it. In that case, it will, of course, because header is not styled to have it in horizontal way, so it is coming one after one. But let's say in header, if this also I had display of flex, then you will see that this automatically gets shrunken, and this another content takes up the whole space. So like that we can do other elements also. But yeah, I hope this particular part is clear to you, how we have put in. Then inside div we have h1. H1 is this whole person name, and then with person after that we have an image tag. Okay, so this is how we are doing it. I mean, this is how we are putting it. Now in the next tutorial we will try to put this h1 not this h1, we will try to put this inline styles that we have created into an external css files, because inline styles, although it looks very convenient, it is always better to you know, put it in a css file so that you could manage and organize them well. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you very much.